Hey guys, Ben here from Velflex. Now, talking today around covering our transfers when we're pressing, okay? So, in putting the garment in, putting the transfers down, do I need to use a cover sheet? And a cover sheet being something like a bit of cotton, we've got our app pad here, parchment paper, or Teflon, okay? And parchment paper could be the same as baking paper. Do I need to use these over the top of my transfers when pressing? Guys, I recommend using something over the top of the transfers if your transfer is sticking to the top plate when the plate actually releases and comes up, okay? If the transfer is sucking up with that top plate and pulling up off the garment, then I do recommend that we need to put something over the top because we want to stop that from happening. What that can cause is the edges of the transfer to lift and pull off the garment. We can cause like an inconsistent peel, an inconsistent application, that sort of thing. So what I'm going to talk about is if you're using a transfer that does lift up with the top plate, what type of product to put over the top and how to apply it down. Now, we've got two transfers that we know are susceptible to sucking up and lifting with the top plate when the top plate releases. And that's our UltraColour PRO cold peel, okay? And the reason for that is if we have a look here, it's really glossy. See that top plate? The cold peel is a single-sided sheet, okay? And it's really glossy. Same, there we go, UltraColour, okay? Very glossy top coating. When it's glossy, because it's glossy and it's so smooth, it almost creates a perfect vacuum with the top plate and sucks up. Same with our UltraColour Max, guys. Sometimes, and this does have an anti-static backing on it, a matte coating on it, so it's much better, okay? It's designed to try to stop that, okay? But if it ever does lift up as well, what we want to be doing is just putting a cover over the top of these transfers to hold them down. Now, the way we do that is I'll just put a shirt on. Now, I'm using the Fusion IQ here, and I'm just sliding on. Actually, the plate that I've got on this press as well is our tagless plate, if you see that as well. Really handy for sliding a t-shirt on because it self-centers on the neck, okay, just like that. When I pull it down, see how it's just nice the way that it actually fits in there. I can sort of pull it here. See the t-shirt as well, it fits into this gap here, so really good. You don't get any heat marks or anything like that. So if you're doing lots of t-shirts, guys, have a look at this, the tagless plate, really, really cool. Also, I suppose this is the Fusion IQ, so swinger and the drawer out, okay? Depending on what style of sort of like press you're sort of working with. I'm gonna do the pull out right now. Okay, now, if I'm putting a transfer down, let's just say I take a Max and I'm placing it here, front of chest. If I'm using a bit of cotton or something like that, usually what we would do is just lay it down like that, okay? You can put your hand over it, holding it down, but that's perfect. Slide it under, go for the application, okay? When it comes up, peel this off, go for the peel. Now, bit of cotton, it's gonna be quite hot, but it shouldn't be too bad and it shouldn't burn you, so just be careful of it though. It does hold a bit of heat, these cotton, but usually with a cotton t-shirt, this is just cut out of a t-shirt, the back of one, you can throw it back over your shoulder and away you go. So I'm a big fan of a bit of cotton sort of piece to lay down if I'm doing that. Now, if you're doing a second press, here's a little secret as well. If you're using cotton, you do the peel, boom, lay this back over the top, do a second press. Sort of almost takes the texture from the cotton as well and press it into the transfer. So there are some benefits to using a bit of cotton. If I was using parchment paper, and this could be just baking paper, that sort of thing, right? You're just laying it down, just like that. Cool. Paper's really nice because it's a little bit more, it's thicker, it's more stable in that it just lays down nice and flat, unlike the fabric. You sort of got to make sure it's pulled out, no creases, okay? So this is parchment paper, it's a little bit thicker. If I'm using parchment paper, just make sure that we're not under time, okay? It might take a few extra seconds for the temperature to get through this paper. So if we're doing only a 6 or 7 second application onto these goods, let's say, we probably want to increase it by a couple of seconds just to make sure that we're getting through this paper. And then you would be wanting to check. Okay, so just be conscious of that. Baking paper, a little bit thinner, so it's probably gonna let the heat through a little bit faster, but this parchment paper, it is quite thick. People use this parchment paper as well. If you have a look here, you might be able to see the color that's around the outside. See this red, okay, through it. If I flip it over this side, you can almost see it's actually in stripes. Okay, so when do I need to use a cover? If you're pressing onto sublimated fabrics, so soccer jerseys, sports jerseys, things like that are sublimated, okay, we want to stop the dye from going into our top plate because it will then start staining the next garments that you've pressed, particularly if those garments are white. So if you're ever using polyester sublimated garments and pressing those, using a cover sheet like parchment paper, baker's paper, baking paper is a very good idea because it'll stop the color from discoloring into your top plate. Cotton will also obviously protect it and stop it as well. That's what we've used this parchment paper for and when we've been doing other videos, and you can see that dye going into this. Cool. Now, Teflon, okay, a lot of people use Teflon, good conductor of heat straight through it, okay. It's really tough. This will last for years and years and years, easy to handle, okay, and just placing it down, you just lay it down flat on top of the actual transfer itself. Cool. Teflon's really good because nothing sticks to the Teflon, so it's really good for protecting parts of the garment and shirt and that sort of thing. If you're using Teflon, you can actually get a Teflon fitted cover that sits on your top plate. The only thing with the fitted Teflon cover that sits on your top plate, if it's pulled really taut, it can sometimes create that vacuum and still pull the transfer up. But if it's a loose sheet like this, it'll always stay laying down onto the actual garment itself, okay? So if your transfer is lifting, see how that lifted up? Just then with the air, that's exactly what happens with your top plate when it pops up. It just wants to lift the transfer in the same way. You put this over the top plate pops up. This doesn't lift up too much and it holds your transfer down in place. That's perfect. The final one that people sometimes will use, this is called an application pad. This is a Hotronix product, a Styles product, okay? And it feels a bit like a chamois. It's quite thick, it's very stretchy, okay? This here is used to protect heat sensitive fabrics, okay? So if we're doing a synthetic that we get a heat mark, no matter what we're doing, whenever we heat press it, we're getting heat marks. So I think it's very susceptible to marking from the top plate. What you end up doing is you use this application pad and it almost turns, my best way of describing it is a pan frying. By putting this over the top, it almost becomes like an oven baked transfer, okay? When you use this, you need to add about 20 seconds to your application time. So if I was just doing a normal application press and it was a 10-second application, by putting this over the top, and the way that I'd lay it down is just like that, okay? You lay one section down and you lay it down and let it roll over the top so it doesn't move the transfer. You have to add 20 seconds. So this would now be a 30-second application. Now I know you think that sounds a long time, but after 10, 15 seconds, if you were just to check, do a 15-second press, if you peeled this back and felt the shirt, it won't be warm yet, okay? It takes about 20 seconds for that heat to start really getting through this to get to the actual fabric. And because it heats the fabric up and the transfer up and everything so slowly, okay, thinking like that oven bake, right? It still gets the pressure, it still gets the heat to melt the glue, so it's pushing the transfer down. It just does it much slower. You'll find those heat sensitive fabrics don't react to the heat, they don't scorch as much, okay? So oven baking something, right? Often very tender and cooked through, but not browned on the outside necessarily, or pan frying, raw on the inside, fried on the outside. Cool. So just be thinking about that. If you're scorching, you could use one of these. Now, if you do use an application pad, these become very hot. It's designed to absorb the heat to slowly allow it through. So when you pull the transfer out after it's heat pressed, okay, you swing it away, whatever it is, you have to be very careful with this because you can't touch it. It will burn you. So if I've placed this over like this, okay, these parts of the application pad will be cold. What I'm doing is I'm just peeling it like that, and then I'm peeling my transfer. Okay, UltraColour PRO is peeled within 4 seconds. If it's cold peel, okay, then what we're doing is we're peeling this off, taking the shirt, putting it down to the side, letting it cool before we peel it. If it's UltraColour Max, okay, you peel it back, and then we're just peeling the transfer on the hot plate. Cool. This here is very hot. You saw my little technique. Grab the corner and just roll it back over itself. You might roll it and then just put it to the table beside you, something like that, but it is scorching hot. Do not flick it over your shoulder, you will burn yourself, okay? So that's a little safety warning for you, really hot. Guys, those are the 4 types of overlays that we can put over the top of our, or covers that we can put onto our garment. You've got your baker's paper or your parchment paper. You've got your cotton t-shirt backing sort of thing, that's probably my favorite. You've also got your Teflon, and then you've got your application pad. Each one serves a slightly different purpose, that sort of thing, but it comes down to personal preference, what you would like to do. All of them though, stop your transfer from lifting up. When I press it and this comes up, stops the transfer from lifting up with the shirt, and what you'll find is it then pulls edges of the transfer up with it, which means they're no longer bonded with the actual fabric and can cause some inconsistencies. All of those will stop that. So if you're struggling with your peel, just when it pops up, get down and have a look to see if your transfer is lifting for a split second and then it falls back down again. See if it's doing that, and if it is, use a cover, that'll stop that and you'll get perfect presses. Cheers guys.